Welcome to Santa Clarita Weekly, where we cover all things local in Santa Clarita Valley every Saturday morning at 9 on KQRU 107.9. Join hosts Tim Haddock and Sage Rafferty as they uncover the latest news, events, sports highlights, and more, keeping you connected and engaged with what matters most in our hometown.
Welcome back for another edition of Santa Clarita Weekly with Tim Haddock and Sage Rafferty. I'm Sage. He's Tim. You can listen to us on the radio at KQRU 107.9 FM on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock. And we're also on YouTube and Instagram, and you can find us online at santaclaritastar.com. So we have a lot to talk about today. The Environmental Protection Agency and the South Coast Air Quality Management District have been monitoring the Chiquita Canyon Landfill, which has been polluting the air, water, and land in nearby communities for months. Lynn Plambeck, the president of the Santa Clarita Organization for Planning and Environment, also known as SCOPE, talked to us a few weeks ago about the damage the landfill is doing to the environment. And there were a lot of questions that came in after that interview for Lynn. So we're going to answer some of those questions today. We're also going to be talking about Pilar Schiavo's click to cancel bill that just passed the Assembly. In sports, the Hart baseball team won the CIF Southern Section Division II championship, but the game against Moore Park ended with a controversial call that was disputed for days after the game ended. So the West Ranch boys volleyball team played for another CIF championship, but lost in the Southern California regional final. The Canyon boys and girls track and field teams posted some impressive performances at the CIF Southern Section finals at Moore Park High School. And the Dodgers are starting to pull away in the National League West standings. So let's start out, Tim, and talk about Pilar Schiavo's click to cancel bill, which just passed the Assembly. This is AB 2863, which would make it easier for consumers to cancel subscriptions. The bill would require companies to offer a simple click to cancel option, similar to the Federal Trade Commission's initiatives. This would make canceling subscriptions as easy as signing up for them. Now, like I said, the bill recently passed the Assembly, but Schiavo argues that the subscription service, often makes it difficult to cancel subscriptions in order to keep people paying. She says that AB 2863 will help people save money on subscriptions they don't use. And the Consumer Federation of California, the CFC, supports the bill. So they say 42% of consumers continue to pay for unused subscriptions, costing them an average of $133 per month. So this bill would give consumers more control over their subscriptions and help them avoid unwanted charges. So let's listen to Pilar Schiavo talking about the bill before it passed the State Assembly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I'm proud to present AB 2863, which is bipartisan support because I imagine we have all experienced the frustration around trying to cancel an app subscription. As we know, we all have personal stories of intense frustration in attempting to cancel unwanted auto renewal services, whether it's gym memberships, streaming services, online publications, and computer software, or our kids' apps. And the list of services is endless and the frustration grows. The subscription economy is projected to become a $1.5 trillion market by 2025, while automatic subscription renewals can offer convenience. In too many instances, consumers are being billed for services they no longer want. 2022 research found that on average, 42% of consumers forgot they were still paying for subscriptions they no longer used. In addition, the research demonstrated that consumers underestimated their monthly spending on subscriptions by $133. If you're lucky enough to find customer service phone numbers to call, good luck if you can actually get a person on the phone, you can negotiate the tree maze, or actually connect with a live person. And we know that these systems are designed to keep customers locked into plans. So for individuals, many of these charges are relatively small sums, if you take them piece by piece, but when you add them up, it makes a huge difference. And frankly, I appreciate the convenience of auto renew. However, if I decide to end a service, it should be as easy to cancel as it is to sign up. AB 2863 simply seeks to make it easier for consumers to unsubscribe or cancel as it is to sign up, requiring affirmative consent for automatic renewal, providing notice of the amount or range of the cost to the consumer, and prohibiting businesses from obstructing or delaying the request to cancel. AB 2863 has received bipartisan support, and I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
So let's talk about the Chiquita Canyon Landfill, and we're going to talk a little bit about it before we get into the interview with Lynn. But a multi-agency task force was created by the EPA, and it has been monitoring the Chiquita Canyon landfill since November of last year. The landfill operators have been sued in several class action lawsuits for polluting the neighboring communities. They have been cited for violating air quality and water control board policies. The EPA has increased inspections of the landfill in recent months, but EPA officials say it would take years to have better control of the pollution in the landfill. And it's creating, in the nearby communities and the wildlife. So Lynn Plambeck, she's a former Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency board member, has also been monitoring the landfill for years. She is an expert in how the landfill is affecting the water sources in the area and the pollution the landfill is creating. So a few weeks ago, she talked to us about the landfill and answered our questions about what is being done to keep pollution from getting worse. But for those of you listening and our subscribers, you came in with more questions for Lynn about the landfill and pollution and the environment. So we brought Lynn on to answer some of those questions. So here's Lynn. All right, so we're back with Lynn Plambeck. Lynn is a longtime member of the Santa Clarita Valley Water Board. She's a former member of that board, and she's a current president of SCOPE. We got a number of questions from our last interview with Lynn on the Chiquita Canyon landfill. That video was very popular, and so I thought we would have Lynn back. And Lynn, we have some questions for you, and hopefully you're ready to answer them.
I am.
All right, so the first question, Granazari asks about and he's talking about the smell coming from Chiquita Canyon landfill. Is that the smell when you drive north on the 5 near the 14 and 5 split, or the smell near the swap meet at Soledad Canyon, or the smell on Soledad Canyon east of Sand Canyon that smells like raw sewage? So how far and wide does the smell go from Chiquita Canyon landfill?
Okay, well, there's lots of odoriferous things in our valley, unfortunately. I am relatively positive that the smell in the Newhall Pass is from the Sunshine landfill, which has some of the same issues as Chiquita Canyon landfill, although the Chiquita Canyon landfill reaction is way out of hand, far more than Sunshine. But there's a big landfill there also. And that's probably what you're smelling in the Newhall Pass. I mean, I can't guarantee that, but I'm pretty sure that would be what it is. On Soledad Canyon, there is a water treatment plant for the Bermite project it's right around across from the work space, live space condos over there. And I don't know why it would be smelling, but they do use various chemicals to clean out the ammonium perchlorate out of the water before they, what it is a pump and treat. So they're pumping water out of the Bermite project and then they're putting it back into the river there. And it may have some odors, and I don't know what that would be, whether it would be something that wasn't removed in the process. And it should have been removed. So if it's smelling, you can report that to the regional water quality, and you can report the smells in the Newhall Pass to the Air Quality Board by dialing 1-800-CUT-SMOG. Just tell them your location, because everybody, the board needs to keep track of the odors, because of course odors also are there because they have gases in them. So it's important that the air quality people know about them. And the last one that you're smelling, what you're saying raw sewage, well, it's probably not raw, but it is sewage, is probably the Vista Canyon water treatment sewage plant, which they've been calling a water factory, which always annoyed me because they're not making water, they're cleaning sewage.
Yeah.
But they called it a water factory, I think, to probably disguise what was going in there to the public. But that's undoubtedly what you're smelling around Sand Canyon. Again, if it's, you can talk to Regional Water Quality Board, or you can talk to the Air Quality Board at 1-800-CUT-SMOG.
All right. So the next is really a comment, but we'll see if you agree with this. Linda says, the issue here is why they keep building houses near these fields. They have millions of dollars being built in Valverde and Castaic. Chiquita is right there. Makes no sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, I certainly agree with that. We, Santa Clarita Organization for Planning and the Environment, SCOPE, bought one of those projects, which hasn't been built yet. It's the Sterling Ranch project. It's another 211 units. And last fall, we appealed that to the Board of Supervisors and said, you know, why are you putting more people in harm's way? And the only thing we could get them to agree to without filing a lawsuit was that they would put notification in the escrow agreements and notify people. We asked that they notify them before they signed anything. But the big problem is if the salesperson shows you the house when the wind's blowing the other direction, you don't smell the odor, and then you get in the house and you're stuck. And if you haven't read your escrow agreement carefully, which we all know they put it in little tiny print and it's pages and pages, but it's really important to read the escrow papers, because unfortunately some people have gotten stuck buying houses over there. There's another housing project that's been affected by the landfill, and I think it's already built. So yeah, that's not a good thing. We begged the supervisors not to do it, and it was in Barger's district. She promoted it and they approved it unanimously. We thought that was a really bad decision.
All right. So there's a few people that asked or commented on whether or not the houses were there before the landfill or did the landfill come afterwards. I think it's a mixture of both, right?
Valverde, the community of Valverde was established in 1928. It's a historic African-American community. And the reason it was established there was that there were Jim Crow laws in Los Angeles in 1928. We think of California as being not a slave state and not involved in slavery, but there was terrible housing discrimination, and Black kids were not allowed to be in the same pools as white kids. So they built, some famous movie stars built Valverde so that the Black community would have a place to go and recreate in the summer and not be harassed about the color of their skin. So it's a very old historic community, and it was there way before the landfill. The landfill started in 1967 as a construction debris dump, not a municipal landfill. So way after Valverde was established. And then it didn't become a municipal landfill until 1972, and they started dumping municipal trash there. And then gradually over the years, it's expanded to become this monster. It's a monster. And if you want to go on our website and see some of the pictures of how large it is now, we have one picture, I'm not sure it's on the website, where you can see all of Dodger Stadium can fit into just one little area of the landfill. So it gives you an idea of how big it is. It's really huge. And although some of the housing, especially some of the newer housing, was built afterwards, again, I believe that much of that should not have been approved. I've worked on legislative issues, or our group also trying to prohibit any new building within at least 1,500 feet of the landfill, which wouldn't really stop any of this odor problem now, but at least it would be a little bit of a barrier. Right now, the closest houses, which were there well before the landfill, are only 500 feet away.
Oh, wow. That's pretty close.
Yeah, it's close.
So the C. Consolo says this, and we'll see if you agree with this, Lynn, but this is a serious problem that Los Angeles, and I think he's referring to Los Angeles County, is sweeping under the rug. So I know that recently it's become a big deal in the news and people have been talking about it, but do you agree with that statement?
Well, I don't think they're exactly sweeping it under the rug, but they weren't paying as much attention to it as they should have been. People were complaining that they were having these health issues and that the odors were getting worse and everybody was sick. And I think they were just not believing that it was as bad as people were saying. But they have a reason not to believe. The County of Los Angeles gets tipping fees from the landfill, so they're making money off of it. And then the other thing that's happened is that the Board of Supervisors has basically agreed to close almost every other landfill in Los Angeles County. So there's only really two large landfills, Sunshine and Chiquita Canyon Landfill. So all of Southern California is getting trash and dumping it into Chiquita Canyon Landfill, with the city of Santa Clarita only really producing, or our valley really, only producing about 10%. So we're being dumped on, essentially. And the other thing that they did was the landfill is a huge corporation, and it's headquartered in Texas. It's in 39 states and 6 provinces. It's a $3.6 billion venture. So it's like the banks. It's kind of like too big to fail. You can't tell it what to do. It doesn't obey the laws. So when the Board of Supervisors approved the expansion of this project, they tried to get a monetary way of limiting trash coming from out of county, I'm sorry. So what they did was put an extra fee on people coming from out of county, and the landfill took them to court, and the court said you can't do that. And I don't know what happened, because they should have been able to do that. It's putting more wear and tear on the roads. It's putting this enormous, very huge health burden on the community. They should have been able to charge more from out of county trash to address this, but the court said no. Then instead of appealing, the landfill of the county made a settlement with the landfill. It's probably huge attorney's fees, so they wanted to settle. But one of the ways they settled was there's a item number 14 in the settlement agreement, and it says that we will stand by the landfill as there are objections. And that's a paraphrase of what they said, but so when you have that in a settlement agreement, it makes you leery that the supposedly supervising agency is going to do anything about keeping their conditions of approval intact, or overseeing the landfill in a good way. But what they did do was get the state and federal agencies in, which I really think they needed all these guns anyway, to help address this problem. And so there's been several notices of violation from the Air Quality Board and from the Regional Water Quality Board. And we'll see if those enforcement and regulatory agencies will do anything to keep it under control or not. But the county is unable or unwilling, and I'm not sure which. A little mixture of both, I think.
All right. Well, thank you, Lynn. I appreciate you joining us and answering our questions.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Sage.
So you are listening to KQRU 107.9 in Santa Clarita. You can listen to Santa Clarita Weekly on Saturday mornings at 9, and on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, let's talk about sports. The CIF baseball playoffs. The Hart baseball team won the CIF Southern Section Division II championship over Moore Park, but the game ended with a controversial call. Hart won the game 7-6. It was at the Lake Elsinore Diamond Stadium, home of the Lake Elsinore Storm from the California League. But in the bottom of the seventh inning, Moore Park hit what some saw as a game-winning two-run home run down the left field line. The third base umpire originally called it a home run, and Moore Park started celebrating the walk-off win for the championship. But after the other umpires conferred, they ruled it a ground rule double and put runners on second and third base with no outs. So Hart didn't allow the tying or winning runs to score and won the game. Moore Park appealed the call after the game, but CIF officials said that the calls made on the field are not allowed to be challenged, and video replays are not allowed to be used to change calls. Eventually, Moore Park dropped its appeal and Hart prevailed. Coach Jim Ozella, who is retiring after a 25-year career as coach of the Hart baseball team, won his first CIF Southern Section championship. It was the first CIF Southern Section championship for Hart since 1999. Hart scored 4 runs in the 6th inning to take a 7-2 lead in the championship game. Moore Park rallied for 4 runs in the bottom of the 6th inning to cut the lead to 1 run. In the 7th inning, with 1 runner on first base, Moore Park's Tyler Bush hit a long fly ball in the left field corner. Video replay is unclear whether it cleared the wall or bounced over the wall of the left field, but the ball ended up in foul territory down the left field line. It was originally ruled that a home run and Moore Park celebrated on the field, but the call was turned into a ground rule double, with the umpires determining the ball bounced over the wall. Relief pitcher Ian Edwards recorded the final 3 outs of the game with runners in scoring position and preserved the win. Still, it was a dramatic and deflating end to an exciting playoff run for Hart. Tim, Moore Park recently announced that they would be appealing the results of the game. Can you tell us more about that?
Right. So this game just doesn't want to end. Even after losing the game and losing the championship, Moore Park is appealing. The Moore Park School District is appealing the result of the game. They tried to appeal immediately after the game. They wanted to protest the win and made an appeal to the CIF, the organization that runs all the playoffs and the postseasons and runs all the leagues in California, the sports leagues in California. And CIF told them straight up that, number one, they are not going to overturn a call made by the umpires on the field. They're not going to change that decision. But secondly, they told them quite clearly that they're not going to use video replay to change a call. That's not what CIF does. They've never used video replay. This is something that it has never been done. If they don't use video to make calls, they let the umpires or let the officials decide the outcomes, the plays, the calls that are in the game. So even though Moore Park has been told that their appeal is not going to be reviewed, they're still doing it. They're still fighting. And they filed another appeal on Monday, 3 days after the game ended. And they're still fighting. They're still fighting, and the parents of the Moore Park players are fighting. The team is fighting. They don't want to admit that they lost this game. They just can't accept it. Okay, so a few things happened because Hart won the CIO Southern Section Championship. Because they won that championship, they were eligible to play in the Southern California Regionals, which is essentially the state championships for CIF. They do a Southern California tournament rather than a whole state tournament. But Hart refused to go. Hart doesn't want to play in it. I emailed Coach Ozella this morning, and he said they're not playing. He didn't say why, but I'm assuming probably a few reasons why Hart isn't going to play in the Southern California Regionals. Number one, I think they're just done. I think they're done. They're done with the season. That winning the CIF Southern Section Championship was tough enough. They had opened up the playoffs with a big 14-inning game, long 14-inning game against Simi Valley. They had a really, really close games against in the second and second round in the quarterfinals. And the way that the championship game ended, the players have to be exhausted through all this. That's why I think they're just done. I think they're done playing. But I think part of it too is that they want to send Coach Ozella out as a winner. And I think, winning the Southern Section Championship and giving Coach Ozella a win in his last game is the best way to send him off.
All right. So let's switch gears and talk about the CIF Southern Section Track and Field Championships. So the Canyon High boys and girls track and field teams shined at the CIF Southern Section Championships at Moore Park High. The Canyon boys team finished in second place overall in the Division II meet. The Canyon girls were third overall in the Division II meet. Canyon's Jordan Gamage won the 110-meter hurdles and the 300-meter hurdles. Canyon's Michaela War won the 100 meters in 11.49 seconds and is one of the top sprinters in the state. Castaic High's Megan Humphreys was a triple Southern Section champion. She won the 200 meters, the triple jump, and the long jump in the Division III meet. And finally, Golden Valley's Kira Donovan won the discus in the Division II meet. Tim, can you tell us more about the CIF Southern Section track and field?
Right. Okay. So Michaela War from Canyon, she has been one of the top sprinters in the state all year. I think at one point she did have the fastest time in the 100. She's been 1 or 2 in the state all year. And after the Southern Section meet and all the section meets in California, she qualified for the state meet. Now, Castaic's Megan Humphreys, she may be the best athlete in the whole Santa Clarita Valley. She won 3 Southern Section championships, Southern Section Division III championships, and qualified. She could have competed in all 3 at the state meet, but she's only going to compete in the triple jump and the long jump. She's passing on the 200. And I saw her times in there. She was, let me get this right, she was 24.12 seconds in the 200, which is good, but she might not even make it to the final race with that time. She'd probably be in like between the 10 and 20th fastest time in the state with that.
Yeah. All right. So that's our show. Tune in next week for more discussions about the news from Santa Clarita. You can listen to us on the radio at KQRU 107.9 FM at 9 o'clock on Saturday mornings. And you can also watch us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and listen to us on SantaClaritaStar.com or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Thank you for listening to Santa Clarita Weekly. You can watch the show on Santa Clarita Star's YouTube channel and Facebook page, as well as listen in on the radio at KQRU 107.9. Visit SantaClaritaStar.com for more content and tune in right here to KQRU 107.9. A new voice for Santa Clarita.